Hello everyone, this is a short video to explain Essay 4. A few students have had a bit of difficulty with the topic, so I thought I would show you a sample essay. So the basic topic is about social class. Does social class really matter in our lives? Here is the details of the assignment. So you're going to have to develop an essay discussing the question, does class really matter in our lives? In other words, you will have to argue, you'll have to take a position as to whether class matters or not. And then you need to explain clearly why class matters or does not matter, and use examples from the articles and from your own experience. Okay, so here's a basic outline. I'm not saying that this essay has to be 6 paragraphs, but this would be a 6-paragraph bare bones outline, beginning in the first paragraph with an introduction that includes the thesis. The thesis should take a position on the question of whether class matters in our lives. And then in the 3 body paragraphs that follow, I think one way to answer this question would be to talk about different aspects or areas of our lives where class does matter or where it does not matter. And again, in each of these body paragraphs, you would need to include evidence. And a basic rule of thumb is to include at least 2 different pieces of evidence in each body paragraph. And in our class, in academic and writing in general, the evidence needs to come from textual sources, i.e. the readings that you've been doing in class. So that brings us to paragraph 5, the refutation paragraph. You've watched short videos and read materials about what refutation means. You're presenting one or more of the opposing side's arguments. You're explaining their argument and then knocking it down or refuting it using evidence. And then finally, the conclusion is really the simplest paragraph in this essay. You're just kind of returning to your thesis, your main point. So let's take a look at an example. This is a student essay written a couple semesters ago, and this student is making the point, you can see the bold-faced thesis at the end of the paragraph, that social class does continue to have a great impact on people's educational opportunities, choices of neighborhoods and friends, and health care. So here you see the areas of life where the student thinks that class matters. If you want, you can pause this video and read each paragraph in toto, but for now I'm just going to kind of gloss over the content. So she begins by saying, taking actually the opposing side, and this is an effective way to begin an argument. Many people think that social class doesn't exist, is how she begins, and then that can lead her into her thesis, which is that it does exist. Okay, so here is the first area where she says class exists, and that is education. And she focuses on graduation rates in college. You can read her evidence. It comes from the article, The College Dropout Boom. And she cites the example from that article of the man, Andy Blevins, who, if you remember the article, had to drop out of college to continue working. And then she also just adds some logos, some general logical statements, like here, low-income students like Blevins come from families where they're the first person who attended college. The families are not oriented to encouraging them to get an education. Therefore, these young people have a smaller chance of succeeding. Whereas rich families, they live in better neighborhoods with better schools, parents encourage them and provide support for them while they're in college. So their lifestyle almost assumes that the children will be successful in education. So this is logos. So there's 2 pieces of evidence in this paragraph. Paragraph 3, the next area of life where class influences people is in the place where they live, according to the writer. And here she is using the example of The Color of Water, where Ruth McBride is shunned by her Jewish family because of her interracial marriage, and she is forced to live in a lower class neighborhood. And another area that's sort of connected with the idea of neighborhood is the people that you come into contact with being determined by your class. So in this essay, the writer has divided these two closely related topics into two separate paragraphs. So this one, in addition, class influences the kind of people that individuals come into contact with in their lives. And here, she uses the example from the article When Richer Weds Poor, and she talks about how Ms. Woolner, the rich wife, she has connections, so she can help somebody get a job, in contrast to the poor husband, Mr. Croteau. So this is an example of how connections can help one move up the ladder economically. Okay, so far we've seen 1, 2, 3 paragraphs that have to do with areas of life where the writer thinks class matters. Here's another one, healthcare. And in this paragraph, again, the writer begins with the topic sentence to introduce the idea of healthcare, uses evidence from Shadowy Lines That Still Divide, The Color of Purple, and even Philadelphia. If you look at the bottom of the paragraph, where she's showing that, lower class citizens get, lower quality health care. So again, you can pause this and read the paragraph in detail. This paragraph I want to take a little more time explaining, and that's refutation, because students continue to have a problem with this new piece that's required in argumentative writing. Here you want to present the opposing side's argument, take a little time to explain it, and then refute it. So let's read this paragraph. Therefore, if someone tries to tell you that class differences don't exist in the U.S., you should consider not only the visible but also the invisible evidence. Young people of all classes may wear designer sneakers or clothes, as Scott and Leonard points out. They may even choose to spend their limited money on expensive cars. This visible evidence suggests that the class lines are fuzzy and blurred, as Scott and Leonard suggest. It has become difficult to discern whether someone is rich or poor if we only look at the surface, the clothes they wear, the car they drive, even their vacation destinations. So this is the opposing side's argument. Class lines do not exist in the U.S. And then the word however begins the writer's refutation, or knocking down this argument. However, all of these luxury items can be paid for on credit. Under the surface, there are deeper, more significant determiners of success. Do lower class citizens have access to adequate health care? Will they be able to attain a college degree? Do they have the right connections to get a prestigious job? As previously stated, the statistics say no to all these questions. On the surface, lower class Americans may have the trappings of the upper class, but below the surface, they are limited by their class status with few opportunities for upward mobility. So a solid refutation paragraph. And finally, a short conclusion. In conclusion, social class affects key aspects of our lives, and here the writer restates the thesis. These are the areas of life where class does matter. So this is a challenging paper. Thanks for watching this presentation. And if you have other questions, please email me. Thanks.